Okay, so today we are going to continue on. This is still Chapter 9, Section 5. We're factoring more trinomials, only in this case it's x squared plus bx plus c, where this last term is going to be less than 0, which means it's going to be negative, or it means we're going to be subtracting. Okay, so let's see what happens with these. So if I have m squared plus 6m minus 27. All right, so we always decide, how do I get this? This is for multiplying. We get this number from multiplying. So I have to multiply two numbers together to make it a negative. The only way to multiply two numbers together to make it a negative means that I have one is positive and one is negative. If one number is positive and one number is negative, that means I have to subtract to get to this middle number. So I'm going to subtract to get to the middle number. So still, it's not that difficult. So I have m, and I have m, and I know one's positive and one's negative. And I got to figure out what one is which. So I'm going to figure out the factors of 27. So we have 1 times 27. When I subtract 1 and 27, I'm going to get a 26. That's not what I'm looking for. We have 3 times 9. 3 times 9 is 27. And the difference between 3 and 9 is 6. So the question is it negative 3 plus 9, or is it positive 3 plus a negative 9, or minus 9? In this case, I get a positive 6. In this case, I get a negative 6. So what am I looking for? I am looking for a positive 6. So my 3 has to be negative, and my 9 has to be positive. Because if you did it the other way, I'd get a negative 6 here. So the bigger number keeps the sign. So I want a negative, I want a positive, so the bigger number is positive. Let's try another one. So I have m squared plus 8m minus 20. So if you want to try this, go ahead, turn this off and pause it. If not, I'll work this one again. So let's go. So this is a negative. Two numbers multiply. This is my multiplying term. This is my adding term. Since I multiply to get a negative, one has to be positive and one has to be negative. Since I'm doing that, I know I'm subtracting to get the middle number. So I know one is m, one's plus, and m minus. So the different ways to get 20 is 1 times 20, 2 times 10. The difference of 2 and 10 is 8. So this is my correct factors. I have to decide, do I want it to be a negative 2 plus 10, or do I want it to be a positive 2 minus 10? This gives me 8, this gives me negative 8. I'm looking for positive 8. So since I'm looking for a positive 8, it's got to be a negative 2 and a positive 10. Notice the bigger number keeps the sign, and I want it, so the bigger number's a positive, and that's what I want my sign to be. All right, let's try one where there's a negative there. So we have y squared minus y minus 56. All right, I can pause. You can pause this and work it out, or if you'd like, I can just don't pause it and I'll keep going. All right, so again, the first thing I always do, because you're going to have a mixture of them. Since this is a negative, I know one is to be positive and one is to be negative. So I know it's y, and I know one's a plus and one's a minus. So I need to, what multiplies to 56, but subtracts to be a 1. So I'm subtracting. So 1 times 56, 2 times 28, 4 times 14, and 7 times 8. Well, 7 times 8, they stand right next to each other, so the difference is going to be the 1. So, again, I know that I want it to be negative, so the 8, the bigger number has to be negative, and the smaller number is positive, because when I take a negative 8 plus a 7, I'm going to get a negative 1. So I can write it out. You don't have to always write it out, but I know that it can be positive 7 minus 8, or negative 7 plus 8. This is a negative 1. This is a positive 1. I want negative 1. So it's got to be a positive 7, negative 8. Okay? Let's see. Let's try this one. Page. We have x squared plus 13x minus 48. Why don't you pause this for a moment and try it on your own. Okay, hopefully everyone's had time to work this out. We see that this is a negative. When this is a negative, I know that one number is positive and one number is negative. So I have an x plus something and an x minus something. How do I multiply to be 48 and add to be 13? Well, if I start going through the factors, I know that's going to subtract, not add, but subtract. Multiply to be 48 and subtract to be 13. That's going to be 47 if I subtract them. 2 times 24, that's 22 when I find the difference. 3 times 16, well there it is, the difference. So do I want a negative 3 plus 16 or a positive 3 minus 16? I want the bigger number to be positive. So 16 is positive, 3 is negative. So when I take the difference, I get the positive 13, and that's my answer. Okay, one more, and this just has two variables in it, v squared plus 2vw minus 48w squared. So hopefully you recognize that you have to have a variable in the front term and a variable in the last term. So why don't you pause this and try to find the answer to that one, factor it. All right, so again, I always want to go through that step. I see that this is a negative, so one's a plus and one's a minus, and I know I'm subtracting. You should always write that down, because yes, the last 2 days we've been doing plus, plus, minus, minus. Today we're doing a plus and a minus, but you're going to have days where you're going to have a mixture of them. So you always have to establish that first, because you have to know what you're doing with the two numbers you find. So we're going to be subtracting. Well, we listed our factors here. 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times 16, none of those work. 4 times 12, that's not going to work. 5 doesn't work. 6 times 8, and the difference is 2. So I know there's a v here and a w, a v and a w. I know that one's plus and one's minus, and I need the bigger number to be plus because I want negative 6 plus 8, I want it to be a positive 2. If I did it the other way, I'd get a negative 2. So this is my answer. The 6 goes with the subtraction, and the 8 goes with the addition. All right, good luck and have fun.